A few years ago, a friend of mine, Sarah, got good news. Her mother had found a new partner. The mother had lost her husband a year before, so she was very happy to find a new soulmate. Frank was handsome, 10 years below her, and rather well off. He was perfect. He was a good listener, attentive and caring, and he showered her with love and compliments. But Frank wasn't perfect. Sarah sensed that something was wrong, and she was right. Frank was a fiction created by online scammers. So Sarah told her mother that Frank is not real, but her mother refused to believe it. Sarah tried to persuade her mother, but her mother argued back. So Sarah gave up convincing her mother. She assumed that her mother would end up with losing a little bit of money and maybe a little bit of love grief. What happened was much worse. Sarah lost all her savings. She felt humiliated after being manipulated, and she was deeply ashamed of having not listened to her own family. The loss and the shame made Sarah's mother take her own life. If she had let her family persuade her, she would have been alive today. Now, I know Sarah's mother's story is a little bit uncommon, but not that uncommon. But the way she reacted to her family's attempts to persuade her is very common. We all do this. When someone tries to persuade us, we simply stop listening. If we have taken a position, we will defend it. If people make an argument, we will make counter-arguments. Of course we do, because we will defend what we believe in. But being stuck in defending makes us unable to see that there are always two sides to every issue. Being stuck in defending prevents us from becoming wiser. And today, everybody, I will try to persuade you that you should let yourself be persuaded. And yes, I see the irony. I tell you it's a good thing to be persuaded so that I can persuade you that you should be persuaded. Clever indeed. But please hear me out, because this is not just about you or me, it is about all of us. It is about how our society works, or I think rather how it ought to work. Take the year 1890. This year, the Norwegian Parliament discussed women's suffrage. Parliament member and bishop Johan Høeg was strongly against of giving women the right to vote. A woman, can you imagine, talking in politics, he believed, was an abomination. Now, not everyone was as harsh as Høeg, but still the parliament rejected women the right to vote. And Høeg remained critical all his life of women's participation in politics. But he also changed his mind. He accepted that women could be allowed to vote, and so did many other people. And in 1913, the Norwegian Parliament granted women suffrage. And think about this story. If no one had changed their minds, women would not be allowed to vote. Half of you, maybe even more than half of you here today, would not be allowed into the voting booth. So, changing the minds of others matter, but changing your own mind matters even more. Because if no one is willing to change, then surely nothing will change. I have studied rhetoric for 30 years. I teach students in high schools and at university. I coach teachers, politicians, and CEOs, and they all want to learn to persuade other people. Yes, rhetoric is the art of persuasion, but the main lesson I teach now is not to talk, It is to listen. If you do not listen to your audience, if you do not try to see the world as they do, then you will not be able to persuade them. But more importantly, you will miss your chance of being persuaded yourself. You will miss your chance of becoming wiser. And this law of listening goes back to the ancient beginnings of rhetoric. The philosopher Aristotle defined rhetoric as finding in every issue the available means of persuasion. A little difficult, but finding in every issue the available means of persuasion. Think about that. Aristotle is not saying that you should persuade. He's saying that you should examine the issue at hand to see what might be persuasive. And this is a kind of listening, because you're looking at the issue to see what it tells you. You can have good reasons to believe what you believe, but other people can have equally good reasons to believe what they believe. And you can both be right at the same time. Take my wife and me. We went to buy a couch, a sofa. I saw the sofa, immediately thought, this is a comfortable sofa. My wife looked at it and said, this is a very ugly sofa. And okay, she was right. But I was also right. The sofa was both comfortable and ugly. My wife persuaded me that we should not buy this sofa, and today I'm very happy about that, because unless I was actually sitting in the sofa, I would be looking at it, confronted with its ugliness. Two voices in disagreement, two opposite viewpoints, yet both were true. In ancient Greek rhetoric, they call this disoi logoi, which literally means opposing voices, voices in opposition. And to me, this is the most fundamental insight in rhetoric. There are always, yes, always, two or more sides to every issue. Now, they may be in conflict, but they still can both be true. You may be right, but so may the other person, and you may both be right at the same time. And this is why you should be open to persuasion. Now, I bet you're probably thinking, yeah, true, Jens, the other person may be right, but I'm more right. Really? Really? How do you know that you are more right? Bishop Høeg also thought that he was more right. So did Sarah's mother when her family tried to persuade her, and my wife thought so as well, but of course she was more right. Think about the last time you had a discussion. What did you do as the other person put forward arguments? Think about it. If you're like most people, you were already looking for counter-arguments. It's like a game we play. When we discuss, we doubt what the other person is saying. So let's call it the doubting game. In the doubting game, we challenge the assumptions of others. We try to find holes in their positions. We question their claims. We look for flaws, contradictions, and weaknesses. And yes, this is a kind of critical thinking, which is good, but not always, because the doubting creates division, and it prevents us from seeing the other side. Sarah's mother played the doubting game when her family argued that she was the victim of a scam. Instead, she should have played the believing game. When you play the believing game, you try to understand the perspective of the other. You try to find coherence in the arguments you are offered. In the believing game, you imagine that you believe the view of the other. Now, this is a game, so you don't have to actually believe the view, but imagining allows you to see the other side. You can make sense of it suddenly. The believing game, of course, will not always change your mind, but also it shouldn't. It should open up the possibility of moving towards a new position. And this, everybody, is the art of being persuaded. Being open and willing to change if the other side makes sense. So you might think, well, I hear you, but the problem for Sarah's mother was that she played the believing game when she shouldn't have. She believed the scammer when she should have doubted him. And yes, you are right. But so am I. Sarah's mother played the believing game when she shouldn't have, but she also played the doubting game when she shouldn't have. She should have listened to her daughter. Unfortunately, we play the doubting game when we hear something that we disagree with or that challenges us because we do not want to change. And unfortunately, we play the believing game when we hear something that we agree with or that accommodates us because we do not want to change. Psychologists call this confirmation bias because we are very eager to confirm what we already believe. We ought to do it the other way around. We should play the doubting game when we hear something that we agree with, and we should play the believing game when we hear something that we disagree with. That helps us see the other side of the issue. It will make us wiser and, I think, happier. Take the former CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs. In 2007, he presented a device that changed the world, the iPhone. He stood on a huge stage in front of thousands of people, and he paused to savor the moment, and then he said, "This is a moment I've been waiting for 2.5 years." When he presented the iPhone, the room erupted in ecstatic applause. Nothing has earned Apple as much money, dedication, and brand appeal as the iPhone. But Steve Jobs never wanted to make a phone. He hated the idea of making a phone. When the engineers he worked with proposed that they turn the famous iPod into a phone, Steve Jobs said, "This is the dumbest idea I have ever heard." Steve Jobs played the doubting game, but the engineers argued well, and finally, Steve Jobs started to play the believing game. And Apple became one of the most successful companies in the world because Jobs turned away from doubting and entered the believing game. You should do the same. You should be open to persuasion. It can change your relationships, it can help your work life, and yes, it can change the world. Not in an instant, but little by little, person by person. In your relationship, winning an argument may mean losing the relation, but listening may get you a good-looking sofa and a very happy spouse. In your work life, rejecting your colleagues' proposals can destroy the team's creativity, but letting them persuade you might get you a winning business idea. In politics, the doubting game will create division. It will stop us from improving our society. Playing the believing game will foster understanding, union, and progress. Remember, the art of being persuaded is not letting everybody persuade you all of the time. It is the art of listening and opening yourself to the possibility of being persuaded. Letting ourselves be open to persuasion is our antidote to polarization. It is our vaccination to fundamentalism. It is a united way forward. And you might think, yeah, that's a really good idea. Other people should be persuaded and change their minds. No. This only works if we all do it. And it starts with you. So please, open yourself up to persuasion. It will not make you weaker, it will make you stronger, and it will also make you wiser. And if we all open up to persuasion, then maybe, just maybe, we can also make the world a little less divided.